So I'm making this quick video to explain a very common problem that some of you have already encountered, and many of you will probably encounter on the next lab assignment, and that is a buffer issue. So a buffer issue I usually explain in my in-person classes because we run into it. You may run into it online as well. The topic is a little bit high level, maybe like the next level of Java, but we run into the issue often here, so I do my best to explain it. Just know that some of the things will be over our head right now, so just try follow me along here, and this may happen to you, especially in the next lab assignment. So let's get into this. I have this program set up right here called buffer issue, and we'll explain what that means further in just a second. But you can see that what it does is it has a loop, so we'll keep looping while the user says yes. We're going to ask them to enter in a number. We'll read that in as an integer, into number right here, and then we'll ask them if they want to keep entering numbers. If they type in yes to repeat, we should hit the loop, come back up, and then if they said yes, we'll go around again, right? That's how this program should work. So let's run this program. If I type in the number 50, do you want to keep entering numbers? Yes, I do. Well, I can't do anything because the program ended. I didn't even get the chance to enter something. Why is that? I have scan.nextLine here, so why aren't you letting me type something in, right? Enter any number, 4. Program's ended. I can't type anything in. What's happening here? So what is happening here is we have a buffer issue. More importantly is we are not clearing the buffer. So how to describe this is you can think of the scanner, right? When we're reading something to the scanner is actually sitting on a buffer. You can think of that as a queue or a line of people to check out at a grocery store or a clothing store or something like that. So the next person gets sent through, the next person gets sent through, just like our variables here, getting sent through. But we have different types, which is causing the issue. So what happens is we say enter any number, and we read in the first number. So they type in the number 4, like I did. 4 is stored inside of our scanner, right? It's stored inside of that buffer of the scanner. And then when we say, do you want to keep entering numbers? And we go to read in the user's yes response, when we type in next line, it doesn't consume the next thing they type in, it consumes the entire line. What is in our buffer right now, what's sitting on that line, is that number 4. So what's happening here is we read in the number 4 as the integer, that 4 sits in the buffer, and then when we say, do you want to keep entering numbers, instead of seeing what they're going to type in, we actually see that there is a number 4 sitting in the buffer, it never left, 4 is not yes, so the program ends. Again, it's a little confusing, a little tricky, but because we typed in the number 4, and the number 4 is not yes, scan.nextLine reads in the line of the current buffer, which is 4, realizes 4 does not match up with yes, and our program exits the loop. So there's a couple ways to resolve this issue. The first and easiest way would be to change this next line to a next. Let me just prove to you that this works. Why does this work? This works because when you type in next and not next line, we spoke about this, I believe, in a previous video. Next line reads the entire line, so that's the 4 that was sitting on the line and everything else that was ever typed in there, if there was anything. In this case, there would not be. Next reads the next token. A token is defined by anything up to a white space. So if I type my name in here, this is the first token because there's a space right here. Okay, so next means the next thing, meaning it doesn't care about what's behind in the buffer. It doesn't care about that number 4. It cares about what comes next. And in this case, what comes next is whatever the next thing you type in is. So next is our first solution, and that's the solution I would tell you to use. Sometimes that might not be applicable. because what if you actually have to type in 2 words? So like if it says enter in yes please, well you can't use next in that case because yes please isn't 1 word. We have to consume the entire line. So what you can do is something called clearing the buffer. And what clearing the buffer does is you realize that you have this issue, right? So again, going back to we have this underlying issue where the program stops right here. You can actually just throw in a scan.nextLine, or whatever you named your scanner, but just an empty .nextLine. What it does is it clears your buffer, or it sends you down to a new line, a new buffer. A good analogy of thinking of this is it just wipes out what currently is in your buffer. So if I type in the number 4, we read it in, it's stored in the variable. That scan.nextLine, it wiped out that 4 and anything else that was in the scanner or the buffer. And now we have a fresh, clean line, clean buffer to write on, and we can type whatever we want. So we can type whatever we want here, and it will take us back around again. So clearing the buffer is probably going to be the most useful to you, especially when it comes to the lab assignment. And the last one, which I wouldn't really recommend doing, is you could just make a separate scanner for every type of variable you're working with. So you could have a scanner for int scan equals new scanner, and then you could have a scanner for string scan and double scan. So if you're working with different data types, you could just have a different scanner for each one. I wouldn't recommend that, it would get a little messy. I would recommend using next if you can, and if you can't, then you want to clear the buffer just using a scan.nextLine. People often ask me when they see this, especially in 1.11, where do I put this? Well, the short answer to that is you kind of just have to play around, and because every program is different, right? You have to play around and learn where your placement should go. But the shorter answer would be figure out where your issue is. So in our case, our issue is right here. I can't enter text into this. So clearing the buffer should go above that prompt, and it does to make the program work. If you do have any issues regarding this or anything else, please just send me an email and we can work it out.